So, welcome back. And this week we're going to be talking about we're on chapter 5, and we're moving on to talking about messages, email messages. Great topic. I remember when sending emails at one of my previous companies, boy, would I botch up those emails with the wrong way or the wrong words and using them. So, a lot of times when we're talking to people, we have to make sure we're in the right voice, using the right tense of the verb. Otherwise, it can come across quite negative to the other person. And so I'm going to share my screen now, and we are going to get started talking about chapter 5, um, business communications. And as you know, as I stated before, the book we're using is from McGraw Hill, and this is Peter Cordone, and this is business communication. Here we go. So today we're going to discuss explaining the goals of effective business messages and the process for creating them. We're going to discuss and identify the needs of your audience in the AIM plan processing. So we're going to find out more about AIM. And then we're going to gather the right information and refine the business ideas in the AIM planning process. Next, we're going to develop our primary message and key points in the AIM planning process. And finally, we will explain and apply positive and other oriented tone in the business messages. So, the process for creating business messages, there's steps. We plan, we write, and review. Plan, write, and review. This is important. I do a lot of planning a lot of times when I'm writing. As you guys know, I write a lot. I've written, I guess, about 8 books, but I use my phone a lot now. I love the phone. As a matter of fact, I have 3 of them because of all the businesses we do and the things we're doing, things we're trying to make happen and help people. Um, the phone is becomes my new notepad per se. So their stages and goals of effective message creation include plan. So what is plan? Get the content right, understand who your audience is, gather the right information, and then develop your message. Next, rewrite. And so in writing, we get the delivery right. We set the tone, we apply a clear and concise style, and we focus on navigational designs. Finally, we review, we double check everything, get feedback, ensure that our message is fair, and we make sure to proofread. I didn't proofread something one time and I sent it and it went all the way to the CEO level and of the school, and I was so embarrassed because I was just sending a quick note. I was being friendly, and when you're texting or talking texting, a lot of things get mixed construed. The text messes up. I love my phone now, but there are times when I mess up by just sending it that way. So I stopped that, and now I started using um, I use a review process in the system that reviews it for me. And so if you haven't downloaded it, please download the information I provided to you to download because you really want to get this right. Being a master's level student, you're in management, and you would be amazed at how many things we don't do or we think we're doing correctly or we're talking. It has also helped me in communicating verbally better because I have these tools that are telling me, hey, you're doing that wrong, or you may want to recheck, or did you really want to say it this way? So the process of creating, again, starts with business writers tend to move back and forth between stages. And I so agree with this. Expert writers are more likely to analyze the needs of the audience, generate the best ideas to tackle a problem, and identify the primary message and key points before starting a formal draft of a business message. So here's what we have. We have poor writers or not. They just kind of start, but they just go through the process. Average writers are in here. And then excellent writers tend to go through the planning, the drafting, and the reviewing process and spending some amount of time. They spend more time planning and then drafting, and then a much the same amount of time drafting and reviewing versus average writers will plan their draft a lot of times drafting because I don't know, I'm not sure, I'm going back and forth. Which way do I want to do this? Very little time reviewing. And then poor writers, and I guess that's where I was. I plan and I draft and I moved. I did not review. And so that was not good. It puts a mark against me, especially as it goes through the organizations and happens. And so everybody's not the best writer. And I know that I wasn't the best writer. And I still have challenges with writing, but I try to do my best. And I spend a lot of time doing it freely. So focus on three areas: audience analysis, information gathering, and message development. Audience analysis takes place when you think about the needs, priorities, and values of the audience members. And then the components of that are identifying reader benefits and constraints, and you considering readers' values and priorities. You're estimating personal credibility. You're anticipating reactions and considering secondary audiences. For many messages, this is the single, guys, the single most important planning step in your reader's response when you provide to them with something that they value. So values, ensuring beliefs and ideas that individuals hold, enduring beliefs and ideas that individuals hold. Now, sometimes you can tell the priorities of people. I posted something yesterday on LinkedIn, and by the end of the day, I had over 1,000 views and only a few responses. On LinkedIn, I probably have about almost 6,000 followers. And I use that as a gauge from a professional standpoint to kind of see, what's going on, what do they think, what's happening, what's important to the people that's reading these. And so priorities involves ranking or assigning the importance to things such as projects, goals, and tasks. Audience must judge you as credible. So many entry level professionals have relatively low professional credibility because they are viewed as newcomers. So set up time to talk with your boss, your manager. Ask your boss or manager if you can take time on take if you can take on any higher responsibility projects. Make sure you fit in with the corporate culture in terms of professional dress and communication style. Yes, these are important. Attend a lot of meetings to get to know as many colleagues as possible and create a professional blog about a niche area. I truly believe in this, creating these blogs, professional information. This is how you become credible in the marketplace. For me, I chose 365 Inspirations, and I did that on every day, but it started out of doing things for just to help people. But at the same time, I don't think, I know my credibility factor on LinkedIn went from a few hundred people or 500 people, I think it was, now to almost 6,000 people. So here's some tips. Envision how others will respond to your message. Imagine how your readers will think, feel, and act as they read it. And think about what you want to achieve in terms of workplace relationships. Um, Additional tips include keeping your secondary audiences in mind, and that includes individuals other than primary recipient. Review your messages and modify them accordingly. As I stated earlier in our conversation here today, I did something that was crazy by sending a message without really, making sure it was perfect. So components of the information gathering process includes identifying the business problems, analyzing the business problems, and clarifying the objectives. So excellent business thinkers clearly and precisely identify and articulate key questions and problems. They gather information from a variety of sources and make well-reasoned conclusions and solutions. They remain open to alternatives to approaching and reasoning about the business problems, and they are skilled at communicating with others to figure out and solve complex problems. So when you're identifying and analyzing business problems, here's some facts, conclusions, and positions that you need to consider. Statements that can be relied on with a fair amount of certainty and can be observed objectively are facts. Conclusions are statements that are reasoned or deduced based on facts. And then positions are stances that you take based on a set of conclusions. So message development starts with framing the primary message. What is it? What is your primary message? What simple, vivid statement, 15 words or fewer, captures the essence of your message? And then setting up the logic of your message. What are your supporting points? What do you want to explicitly ask your readers to do? What's your call to action? And how would you order the logic of your message? So most business arguments employ a direct or deductive approach, and they begin by stating the primary message. Then they lay out the supporting reasons and conclude with a call to actions. In some cases, such as delivering bad news, an indirect or inductive approach is helpful. This approach provides supporting reasons first, followed by the primary message. So the figure 5-4 is a typical deductive framework for business argument and related paragraph structure. So you start here with the primary message, position or recommendation. And then like yesterday, I talked about leadership, women in leadership. So I started with that. And then you have a key point, evidence of key point 1, evidence of key point 2, and evidence of key point 3. And then you have a call to action where needed. I know this seems complicated, but once you get it down, and it's still hard sometimes for me, but once you get it down, I promise you, your communication will flow much better. So typical paragraph organization and a deductive business message. And then here are the components of it. Primary message is a topic center. Review the sentence as concluding sentence. We should do what because of point 1, point 2, point 3. And then body, supporting paragraphs for each key point. Key points as the topic sentences. Most paragraphs are 3 to 5 sentences and 40 to 100 words. And a lot of people don't realize this. Concluding paragraph, it restates primary message and contains a call to action. And really, you should really follow this process when providing your answers to the discussion post. This is a great format to use. You open your body and you're concluding. The less effective way would be so if you want to really avoid unsupported generalizations. Eastman has a turnover problem. So what? What is it doing? Without any supporting facts, this broad generalization will be viewed skeptically by many readers. Instead, you want to say Eastman faces an employee turnover problem. Employee turnover is at 23% compared to the rates between 10 and 15% at similar tech firms in our area. So this statement provides statistics to support the conclusion. We want to make sure that when we're writing, we provide evidence of things or some information. Yesterday, when I wrote a piece on women in leadership, I talked about the things that were out there that's pushing or propelling us to move forward with this. And I used a lot of statistical, information to support why I'm having this argument. Avoiding faulty cause effect claims. Lisa Johnson calculations show that Eastman will definitely save at least $900,000 over the next 5 years by inducing PPL. Now, this statement assumes that a PPP policy will result in a definite result, at least $900,000 in savings. The certainty of this claim would raise skepticism among many reasons readers, especially because there's no data to back it up. Now, the more effective way to state this would be Lisa Johnson projected the financial impacts of a 20-week PPL policy, considering increased productivity gains due to a higher employee engagement, savings from reduced turnover, the higher the employee costs to cover for employees on PPL. We saving over $900,000 over the next 5 years. Now, this statement provides facts, assumptions, and calculations to make a confident estimate. The statements are carefully crafted to avoid stating absolute outcomes. As the result, the statement will be perceived much more credibly. Less effective. Last year, 5 promising early career professionals turned down job offers. If we had PPL, they would have joined Eastman. This statement states a cause that is nearly impossible to demonstrate convincingly, especially without additional data. Now, a better way of putting this would be last year, promising early career professionals turned down job offers. 2 of them told us they were disappointed there wasn't any PPL. This leads us to believe we are losing some early career professionals because we don't offer PPL. Much better statement, because this statement does not attribute to the lack of PPL as the single cause of turnover, turn down job offers. It provides more specific details about the lack of PPL as a concern for 2 of the individuals. The language is measured and objective. So, organizations such as Netflix and Gates Foundation have given a full year of PPL and dramatically increase employee retention. Therefore, we should adopt a 52-week PPL model to ensure we increase retention. Now, this statement is weaker. It's a weaker analogy because it compares a smaller organization, Eastman, with large organizations. They are not Netflix or Gates Foundations. Now, in terms of personnel, resources, and program options, readers in smaller organizations would consider this a weak analogy, and I would too. You would too, right? Okay, now here's a better way of putting that. We found that the most generous PPL policies among small tech firms range from roughly 8 to 24 weeks. Therefore, in her estimate, Lisa assumed that Eastman will gain the most employee retention benefits by offering 20-week PPL to new parents. This statement is a stronger analogy because it refers to similar sized organizations with similar resources and constraints. Readers are far more likely to consider this a credible analogy. Let's look at one more. Less effective. Without providing PPL, employees would continue to suffer from low morale. Instead, you could say this logic is either or. Without a PPL, employees will have low morale. With PPL, they will have high morale. More effective. One way to reduce turnover is offering more employee-friendly benefits, such as PPL. This statement does not imply that a PPL policy is the only option for reducing turnover. Readers will perceive this statement as a confident but grounded and measured statement. Now, employee turnover at Eastman is at 23% compared to as low as 10% at a similar tech firms in our area. Now, what are your thoughts on this? Right. This statement leaves out the top of the range to imply the separation between Eastman and competing firms is even more dramatic than often is the case. Now let's try it again. What about this? Employee turnover at Eastman is at 23% compared to the rates between 10 to 15% at similar tech firms in our area. You see the difference here? The comparisons. Eastman turnover, employee turnover at Eastman is at 23% compared to as low as 10. Employee turnover at Eastman is at 23% compared to rates of between 10 to 15% at similar tech firms. This statement provides the top of the range and thus provides a complete information. Now, one more. Providing PPL to our new parents would completely change our work environment for the better, allowing us rich levels of performance previously unimagined. Well, versus providing PPL options could significantly improve employee satisfaction, an issue that our company president is particularly interested in. You see how we give things some more evidence here? The statement provides confidence, but does not contain aggravated or exaggerated, rather, unrealistic or overly ambitious language. Now let's talk about tone. All right, let's discuss tone. So tone is the overall evaluation the reader perceives the writer to have towards the reader and the message content. Again, I suggest to you at the opening of the class to download Grammarly. Grammarly will be an excellent tool and resource for you. It's like having an assistant of individuals or a base of individuals there reviewing content for you. It will discuss with you the tone that you are reading or you have in your particular email. Do yourself a favor, download Grammarly today. All right. Principles for setting the right tone demonstrate positivity and show concern for others. So positivity. A positive attitude results in better work performance, more creativity, more motivation to excel, more helpfulness between coworkers, and more influence on clients and customers. So displaying a can-do confident attitude includes less effective would be, let me know if you want me to keep working on the implementation plan. Now versus, I look forward to putting together a detailed implementation plan. Do you see that? Let me know or I look forward. I look forward is more positive. This statement is strong because it expresses an enthusiasm for putting together a successful plan versus this first statement about let me is weak and it expresses little enthusiasm or passion for pursuing this project. See, words matter. How you phrase things matter. Your tone or the tone in the message does matter. So now let's see another one. Displaying a can-do confident attitude. All right. So based on the information I have access to, and if everything goes according to Lisa's analysis, I think a PPL policy may increase profitability at Eastman. What's wrong with this statement, guys? Well, this statement is qualified with too many weak words based on, for example, if, think, might. Collectively, these words display a lack of confidence in the program. Moreover, using conservative assumptions, Lisa Johnson projected the financial impacts of the 20-week PPL policy. Considering increased productivity gains due to higher employee engagement, savings from reduced turnover, and higher employee costs to cover employees on PPL, we anticipate saving over $900,000 over the next 5 years. Now, what are your thoughts? Well, this statement expresses confidence that the program will be profitable based on well-developed estimates. It does not seem aggravated. Here's some more examples. A PPL policy is not just a perk for the few parents in the organization. Now, in looking at that, we could say, without any additional elaboration, the sentence does not provide any positive information about a PPL policy. Whereas PPL policy shows that Eastman is an employee-friendly organization. This sentence effectively frames the positive impacts of a PPL policy. It is a strategic statement. Let's look at another one. So a PPL policy does require significant expenses. Now, that's not as effective as a PPL policy would be in an asset to our company and bringing in a strong return on investment. So this positive statement effectively frames the PPL policy as an asset. One more. I would like to present my argument for why we should immediately implement a PPL policy. Argument is a negative word here. Instead, you could say, thank you for the opportunity to share my analysis of how a paid parental leave policy can impact Eastman networking. Now, this statement prefaces the goals of the communication with a compliment, which is a show of solidarity. Now, using diplomatic constructive terms. Well, let's start with the less effective. Your characterization of the PPL policy as a perk is inaccurate since the program would actually save the company money. Your phrase, your characterization immediately creates a me versus you tone. Watch this. And this happens a lot in business. This using the wrong word to start a sentence with, or these your, or his, or things of that nature. You want to be careful there. The PPL policy would feel like a perk to employees, which could boost morale. Yet, unlike most perks, it would actually save us some money. By stating perception of the PPL policy being a perk in neutral terms, the statement would not be perceived as confrontational or divisive. So, concern for others, avoid relying too heavily on the I voice. Respect the time and anonymity of your readers. Give credit to others. So, appropriate situations. Use when focus is solely on the reader. It is particularly well suited to describing how products and services benefit customers, clients, and colleagues. Now, avoid when pointing out the mistakes of others or when the statement may be presumptuous. Examples. You will receive regular updates about how to use PPL and related services to meet your family needs. Also, you may be interested in Lisa's cash flow analysis. She found that a 20-week PPL policy would save over $900,000 over a 5-year period. So, we voice appropriate situations. Here's some things we want to look at that may not, look at this. Use when focus is on shared efforts, interests, and problems. It is particularly well suited to messages within a company. All right, so let's see. The effective way. Were we to offer PPL, we could actively promote this benefit to potential hires. Effective also would be, we could further discuss the estimates of how a PPL policy could impact Eastman. Using your voice, we voice, interpersonal voice, and I voice appropriately. Appropriate situations. Use when rational and neutral analysis is expected. It is well suited for explaining business, ideas, plans, and reports. Example. A PPL policy can increase employee engagement and satisfaction, reduce turnover, and attract top talent. The effective way, another effective way could be creating and implementing a PPL policy would require several steps. Using you voice, we voice, interpersonal voice, and I voice appropriately. So I voice, here you go. Use with non-threatening verbs. Important, guys. I'm telling you, I've been in these situations And I have been on the end of using the wrong, as well as been the receiver of the wrong communication presented to me, or information presented to me in a wrong way. Okay, here you go. So use with non-threatening verbs like think, feel, when there is bad news, difference of opinion, or even blame involved. It is well suited for situations that could result in personal disappointments, used most often in oral communication. So here's some effective ways of talking based on our PPO policy that we've been talking about all this time. I think right now it's not the right time to focus on creating a PPO policy. Another effective approach to using I would be, I think your ideas about a PPO policy make a lot of sense, but the company is not in a position to make the initial investments to get it started. So here's some ineffective use of voice. Less effective would be, I would like to know as soon as possible when you could meet. I want to go over the estimates with you to show you how strong the case is for pursuing this option. Also, I have developed a timeline for writing the implementation plan that I want to show you right away. The repeated use of I may be perceived as a self centered, inconsiderate, or pushy situation. What are your thoughts? Let's think about this. Think about this for a moment. What would your thoughts be to that particular statement I just read? Now, here's a more effective way of doing it. Please let me know when there is a convenient time to meet. We could further discuss the estimates for how a PPL program could impact Eastman. Also, if you think we should pursue this initiative, we could discuss the timeline for developing an implementation plan. The repeated use of we voice will likely be perceived as team oriented and flexible. What are your thoughts? Okay, now let's look at I and how we could be using that wrong. Here you go. I've set up the PPO program with extensive pregnancy information, healthcare options for newborns, and advice to bond with your new child. I'm especially proud of the wealth of information that I compile for you about the bonding with a new child. In my experience, the longer a parent can be with a new child, the better. I've made sure that you can take a full 20 weeks to bond with your child. Come on. Now, the repeated use of I voice may come across as self absorbed and insincere. You haven't done anything. It's the first thought that many people would come to. Oh, here come a pack of lies to me. Why are we doing this? What is happening here? This is not effective, guys. So the more effective way would be the PPL program provides the PPL program provides you with extensive pregnancy information, healthcare options for your new child, and advice to bond with your child. You have a full 20 weeks of paid leave with time to bond with your child. The repeated use of you voice frames everything in terms of the reader benefits. It's about you, you, you. All right. So showing respect for time anonymity. Less effective would be call me as soon as you get out of your meeting. Mm. This abrupt, demanding sentence would sound bossy to some people. And I've gotten messages like this, and I thought, oof, what is going on? Am I going to get fired or something? Is somebody about to get me told? What is going on? Why this message? So the more effective way would be, please give me a call when it's convenient. Using the courteous term, please, and focusing on the message recipient's convenience rather than your own shows respect. And in management, you got to be careful with that because a lot of times managers would use that inappropriately. They will show that, hey, I am the boss. We know you're the boss. So, showing respect for time. So, less effective would be we need to meet before Monday to go over the proposal. Have your administrative assistant set up a time for us and get back to me as soon as you know a time. Now, these sentences would be interpreted as overly demanding to some readers. In written form, these statements can easily be misinterpreted. So, now check this out. The more effective way of doing this would be, I think discussing the proposal with you before Monday would give us a chance to include your ideas in the proposal before we submit it on Wednesday. I'm available anytime before noon on Thursday or Friday. Is there a time that works for you? We could meet at your office, talk by phone, or meet online. Now, these statements focus on achieving results together by a deadline while still representing the time of the message recipient. Now, here's one that's less effective when giving credit to others. The PPL policy could result in a significant return on investment for Eastman. This statement implies that the writer is responsible for this analysis and that they are going to make lots of money by what the writer is saying. Instead of saying, Lisa also helped me understand how a PPL policy could result in a significant return on investment for Eastman. Now, this statement implies that Lisa was instrumental in this analysis. Here's another one for giving credit to others. I gave Lisa information about PPL policies so she could plug the numbers in and see what it meant for Eastman. As I anticipated, the estimate showed that Eastman would save about $900,000 over 6 years. Well, these statements give credit to Lisa, yet imply that the real analysis was conducted by the writer. Moreover, or more effective would be Lisa Johnson estimates a 20-week PPL policy could save about $900,000 over the next 5 years. This is wonderful. Now, if you're a manager, a good way not to take credit for somebody else's work and to uplift your employees would be statements like this. You give the person's whole name, Lisa Johnson, estimates. Now, you're the person in front of the other ranks giving it. So you're giving credit to Lisa Johnson so that Lisa gets that credit. But also you as her manager is understanding, or presenter is understanding that Lisa had a big role to play and you're helping Lisa's career and at the same time helping yours, because it's stating that you believe in what Lisa is saying. Therefore, that's why you're giving this presentation. So you're using your skill sets in management to talk about what another teammate has done. So this sentence gives full credit to Lisa for her time-consuming, thorough, and insightful work. Meta messages. Meta messages are the overall but often underlying messages people take away from a communication or a group of communications, a combination of content, tone, and other signals. So mixed signals occur when content of a message conflicts with its tone, nonverbal communication, or other signals. Sending mixed signals is not only confusing, but it also frequently results in negative meta messages. And that's it for chapter 5. So we have finished this. I love this quote because learning changes everything. And that is so true. Learning does change everything. And learning changes everything because when we're learning, we understand things in a little different way, tone, objective, and we're able to carry out things now with a more precise or with more knowledge about it. And just like we just went over this communication of email messages, would you have ever thought that the little words we use or the way we say them has a significant impact in your messages to others? Well, they do. So that's it for chapter 5. I'll see you in Coffee and Conversations as we talk about the PPL in more detail. Take care.